Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically hockey, specifically in Canada. Your co-host Mick, you can find me on Twitter at Prophet Mick. I'm joined every episode by lovely and talented co-host
Grant on Twitter at Fourth Line Sports. This is a very special occasion for guys like Mick and Grant because this is something we've almost never done. We have fulfilled our promise of completing an entire year of podcasts. We have nothing left to talk about. The Canadian teams are eliminated. We can go back to just being hungover slobs on Saturday morning. And as much as I'm going to miss you, I'm going to value that video game time a little bit more than my time with you.
Oh, I try and get stuff done. I've already walked the dog, cleaned the yard, have most of the house cleaned at this point on a Saturday morning. And yeah, I'm looking forward to just being garbage at this point. Still laying in bed next Saturday, so can't wait.
It's going to be a long few months without hockey. But I was thinking about this morning as I was waking up. Hockey's being extended a little bit. You know, it's normally done around this time, mid-June. We're probably going to get, maybe if we're lucky, end of June, depending on how the Stanley Cup finals go. But that leaves us only 1 month short of NFL preseason. And I get that it's only the preseason, but that's the juices our motors need to get us to college football season. Where typically, I think it starts, the week 0 would be last week in August. And then it's just NFL season. And guess what? Then you're only about a month back from hearing from the Canada Puck Podcast.
That ain't not bad. It's not bad. We're back in your lives very shortly. July 7th and 8th is the draft this year, so about a week late on that, like Grant was saying. And when does free agency start? Must be a week after that or something? That's usually how that works.
So I don't know how that's going to work, to be honest. I don't know.
July 13th. So
No.
mid-July, you start you getting back into it, like Grant was saying. That goes for at least 2 weeks of entertainment. And then you're probably doing fantasy football drafts, so that ain't not bad.
It's got enough to keep a guy sane through the summer months, I would say. Some hockey stuff. I jumped right to the other sports. I don't know why I'm so excited about football. I started talking about football last night, and I think maybe, balls on the mind or something. But we'd be doing ourselves an injustice if we went straight to football because there's a lot to digest, not only through the postseason, but the entire season. Because, as you've noted, we do a post-mortem on teams as they're eliminated. And guess what? Now we get to dissect the Canadian franchises that were over the 2021-2022 season.
That's the plan. We are going to try something new. I don't know, maybe it's successful. Maybe people like it. Maybe we do it more in the future. Winners, losers. We're going to go through, reverse standings? Let's pull up the standings so we can laugh at some of these crappy teams. How does that work? Playoffs, stats, schedules, standings. I don't think standings exist anymore on NHL.com. Alright, that's weird, right?
Has it all just been replaced? No more?
Regular season standings. Alright, here we go. Found it. Yeah, it was under playoffs. Yeah, that's where I would have kept it. Alright, so, bottom of the league, worst team, Montreal Canadiens. We do reverse order, that means they're first. So, hey, you finished first in something, Montreal. Winner, loser, if we share, I guess we just kind of talk about it. So, you want to start loser or winner first?
I will let you decide, but I think it's worth mentioning they held a special distinction, and they are not only just the worst Canadian team, they are the worst team overall. And that's special after finishing last year in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Are they the very first hockey team that finished 32nd in the league?
I guess they would be.
Well, congratulations, Montreal. That deserves a banner.
Hang it next to the 1993 Stanley Cup Championship. First 32nd place team in NHL history. I like that.
That's amazing. Let's start. I like to go positive, and then we'll rip them a new asshole on the way out as we leave them to dry. Winner. For me, I'm going to go with one of the only positives from, I guess, this season was Martin St. Louis. getting himself a head coaching job with very little experience. He did look like he turned things around a little bit towards the end. They had a rough start. They kind of just were free falling after that kind of historic impromptu Stanley Cup Finals visit last year, and he just really seems like he's turned this thing around. He got himself a nice little deal. He gets to stay in La Belle Provence. There you go, Martin St. Louis.
Well, I like that. That's definitely, you know, a glass half full analysis of the winner. My analysis, I think the only winner this year in the Montreal Canadiens was Carey Price. And you might think, oh, Grant, what the fuck? Carey Price played 6 games. That's exactly the point. He was spared an entire season of embarrassment, and I think that makes him the winner for the Montreal Canadiens. The losers, you might ask? The rest of the Habs team. So I think they showed one thing, and that is that they are nothing but a bunch of losers.
I said everyone in the organization outside of Carey Price and Weber, they were somehow like, they walked away from the situation and got really way worse. It's like the parents went out to grab pizza for the kids and they came back and the house had burnt down. They were like, we had no idea we were linchpins in this operation. Like, us both leaving the house, absolute dumpster fire. So,
you know what's funny? Me and Mick did no planning, so sometimes we're just on the same wavelength.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was just like I started writing down like individual players, and I was like, I think everyone is kind of like, no one had their stock increase. Like, I don't know. Like, are you excited about anyone on this Montreal Canadiens team going forward?
Not really.
Right?
I'm excited to see what St. Louis does, but I can't point to one player and be like, oh, thank God they have this person to carry them up this.
And it's just, I don't know. It's from what I was calling the most entertaining team in hockey last year, between their trip to the finals, all the weird stuff Bergevin was doing. I mean, I guess another winner could be Dominic Ducharme. Didn't he get hired as a head coach last year? Went to the Stanley Cup Finals and got fired, got a big deal, and then got fired a couple months later. So he's got like 5 months or like 5 years salary coming from him. It gets to do nothing. That's great.
So interim all the way through the Stanley Cup Finals. I think it was a 3-year deal he got at the start of the season or ahead of the season.
Yeah.
Coached a couple games, and now guess what? He has $10 million to blow. Maybe it was $9 million. It was up there. It's in the millions, though. He's got millions of dollars to blow over the next few years doing absolutely nothing. We just need to find a way to finagle a head coaching position, get a really hot goalie, and then you know what? Neither of us need to do anything for the rest of our lives again.
It's easier than playing the lottery. That's what Ducharme showed us. So there you go. So Montreal, I guess, like, interested to see where they go forward, right? What kind of the new management kind of direction that they head, right? Are they continuing to sell? Are they going to try and rebuild? Do they piece it together? Entertaining hockey, that's what you're getting, or entertainment is what you're getting in Montreal. Maybe not so much hockey. We have to jump up the standings to 26th overall, and you get the lovable Ottawa Senators. What can you say? What is your winner for the Ottawa Senators?
I have a group of winners for this one, and that is the exciting young core that is the Ottawa Senators. And you saw me and Mick fanboying throughout the season every time, Josh Norris or Drake Batherson, Tim Stützle, Thomas Chabot, any one of those players, when they came at a discount, and particularly early in the season, we're like, yeah, Ottawa Senators. And they carved out a special place in our hearts. So they're exciting. They're ferocious. They're friends of the show. I'm excited to see what comes next for Ottawa because they have labored through some lean years. And I think this was the first year that we started to see their nucleus come together. And I think it's a sign of things to come next year. Maybe they're knocking on the playoff door. But I think that we're going to see a competitive brand of Senators hockey in years to come. And they broke things down. They built things up the right way. And I think they're going to reap the benefits for years to come.
Well, that's my point. Pretty much exactly. I focused a little bit more on just the lovable, the goofy Brady Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk definitely had a bit of a stink going on in the league, right? The Tkachuk brothers were going to be these big goon guys with a little bit of a scoring touch. And Matthew's just so easy to hate, right? Like, Oilers fans in particular probably are not the most fans of the Calgary version, but Brady, I don't know. He just started to have this big personality on the ice. He has those little intangibles, right? Like you see him talking to other guys. He seems like he's fun-loving. He was the captain of the Sea of Red this year. So then they're drinking beers up in Calgary during those home games against the Dallas Stars there. I don't know. He's just big, dumb, lovable. I never thought I was a Senators fan. I could be a Senators fan, but he's warmed my heart to this little franchise, and I'm very curious to kind of continue to follow them and watch them grow, right? One of those things. Show favorite, fan of the show. I think friend of the show. Early on, he was branded friend of the show sarcastically, and now I really hope he is friend of the Canada Puck podcast.
Well, that was quite an endearing winner. I'd like to know who you have as the loser of the Ottawa Senators franchise then.
A team that's lovable honestly can't have a loser. Like maybe the fact that the balls didn't bounce in their favor and they got maybe a little more high profile of a prospect coming in, right? That tipping point, that one extra piece. They're still picking, what, 7th? I've heard this draft is like hit or miss. Like they still might be getting a quality player, but I think I would be a little more excited about this group if they were getting, say, one of the top 2 guys, right? Just injected into this forwards core. So that's the lottery bounces.
The lottery bounces the loser. All right, I like that. I'm going a little bit more tongue-in-cheek. I think the biggest loser is actually the guy you think most highly of, and that is Brady Tkachuk. Imagine traveling across the country while your team's out of the postseason to go cheer on your brother in a different city. How dare you, Brady Tkachuk? You should be ashamed of yourself. Having beers, enjoying hockey, supporting the team, supporting your family. Disgusting.
What an asshole. You know what? I didn't even think of it that way. Like, you're right. You are a miserable piece of garbage, aren't you, Brady Tkachuk? How dare you?
Well, don't take away his friend status. We need him. We need that.
Oh, you can still like rip on your friends, though. All right, like that's it's an enduring asshole.
So he's just the friend that we shit on. Then, all right, I get that. I like that relationship.
All right. So we have to move a little bit up the standings from Les Ottawa Senators to the Winnipeg Jets at 19th overall. Butted right up against Vancouver, so maybe Vancouver will come up soon. On the other hand, I didn't have a loser for the Ottawa Senators because I thought great season, even though they didn't finish that well. They warmed our hearts. What more could you ask for? I could not find a winner for the Winnipeg Jets. I have nothing. I think it was a fall from grace. What in theory is a good forward core. Defensively, there's a little bit desired. Hellebuck still should be up there, kind of amongst the top 10 goalie in the league. Didn't play like it at times. Their coach left. Nothing nice to say about Winnipeg this season.
And you touched on exactly what I thought who the winner was, and that is Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice had the wherewithal to abandon ship before it fully sunk. He would be, without question, he would have been let go sometime at this season, but he walked away on his own terms. Well, the team was still kind of respectable, and he's a winner because of it. He's kept his reputation intact. He still has all these, victories and regular season acumen that he can point to say, you know what, I'm a capable NHL coach, instead of saying, you know what, Paul Maurice, you just actually fucking got lucky, or, you proved that winning's just luck, and you eventually lost with a bunch of talented hockey players. So I think Paul Maurice is the winner because he got away before the house was fully engulfed.
I still just don't understand that. Any other market, huge story. I guess any other sport, right? Like if this happened in, say, football or like basketball somewhere in the States, one of the bigger markets, it's a huge story. No one even mentioned it. Like people forget about it. Paul Maurice just walked away from this team. Bizarre. Truly bizarre.
I don't want to liken the Winnipeg Jets franchise to the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise, but imagine if Mike Tomlin was just like, you know what, I give up on these players because they've given up on themselves. Like
mid-season, like he just walked away. You'd be like,
yeah.
What is happening? Like what is going on in that locker room? It would be a giant story. There'd be deep dives. I don't know what guys are Winnipeg.
Fucking Winnipeg, man.
Yeah.
We've been over this.
Yeah, like they share the name with the New York Football Jets, and the Jets suck. And they're still the second most popular Jets team out there.
Yeah, imagine that. But I have to know, who is your loser?
Kyle Connor. Guy put up 93 points. Incredible season. No one's going to remember that. No one's going to talk about that. No one's going to mention him going forward, right? Like, it's just kind of a lost season, a lost effort. Great effort by the kid, but unfortunately the rest of the team around you just didn't have it in you. I don't know. I think they're kind of on the downward part of their contendership. Probably headed maybe towards a rebuild. I don't know. We'll see what kind of happens this summer with Shovel Day off. Do some of those picks flourish? Do they kind of start growing? Other than that, I don't know. I hate to see that when those, like, I don't know, younger guys, mid-level guys hit their prime on those crappy teams. Yeah. I don't know. Poor Kyle Connor.
Poor Kyle Connor. I think the biggest loser this year, I should have done my homework. I didn't dig into this too much, but Mark Scheifele. Mark Scheifele on a few occasions put his mouth in his foot in his mouth, rather, and I don't know why. I don't know what he was trying to prove. Everybody knows you suck. Everybody, and by that I mean the team's having a bad year. Everybody knows they suck this year, and he still comes back and he's bashing his team, he's bashing the city, he's bashing the coach. Not really a veteran or player savvy move. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish or what message he's trying to send. Be pissed off, then, if you're pissed off with the situation, then talk about the people in your situation. Be like, all right, what can we do differently? Don't fucking lambaste them in the media. I just thought it was like such a goofy move, and I don't know what he thinks was going to come of it, but I think less of Mark Scheifele because of what he did.
Scheifele, oh my god, what are you doing? Mark Scheifele, 2 years left, comes as a free agent. What does he make? Like $7.4 million or something like that? No, that's just his percentage. Why don't I have like a thing where I can scroll over on cap?
Let's see here.
I feel like he's got a very team-friendly, like it's like 5.5 or something, like $6 million that he signed, so it's kind of a more bargain deal. He put up, let's just see, 70 points. He's 29, a little bit past his prime, got a bit of an attitude problem. Yeah, it's a shame. Mark Scheifele, if he would have kept his head down, focused on the game, produced a little bit more, he could be due for a substantial raise. Right now, I can't imagine he's getting more than 5, maybe 8 or something like that in 2 years, if that. Right? He'll be on the other side of 30. Yeah, it's a shame.
6.125, depending on the cap situation and what happens. He's got 2 years left, and everybody knows contract year for some reason carries all this weight.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? There's no guarantee that he has any meaningful minutes if he maintains this fuck you mentality. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Oh, all right. Connor, Canucks. There we go. We have to move up one, get to the Vancouver Canucks. Bit of a turnaround season. I think in part to my winner, Bruce Boudreau. He came in, took over for Travis Green, righted the ship, got them playing a brand of hockey that actually won, as opposed to just, I guess, lost games. Seemed to kind of bring things around a little bit. I don't know if it was so much a player situation, but yeah, I definitely think that has to be the winner of this season, right? The kind of going to next season with Boudreau at the helm after a training camp, after the off season. You have to think this guy's the postseason, right? Like, they have to be competing for a playoff spot next year, which is pretty good, that you can kind of move from that rebuild to the playoff contendership. So, Grant, who is your winner for the Vancouver Canucks?
I was really impressed with Thatcher Demko, the way the season progressed. And he ebbed and flowed, but we saw a lot more from him. We saw more ceiling play than basement play from him throughout the year. And you hear me say this nearly every week on this podcast, that his players are a function of their system. And Thatcher Demko showed that he can shine in Bruce Boudreau's system. And the Canucks will be better off because of it. And not only that, I was kind of debating because there was a few people that I was impressed with, but Pettersson, he didn't regain his rookie campaign magic, the luster from his rookie season. But what he did do is he showed that he was a more valuable two-way player, and he still produced. He still found time on the power play to snipe. So I liked what I saw with Pettersson. Quinn Hughes, every time he touched the puck, I was like, this guy can fucking do it. But those guys were runners up to Demko, who I think stole the show for the Canucks, and we saw him steal wins and come up with big time save performances throughout the season. I'm excited to see what a full season of Bruce Boudreau and Thatcher Demko can do together. And I suspect, I'm saying it here first, Thatcher Demko next year will be a Vezina Trophy finalist.
All right, there you go. Yeah, no, great pick there. For myself, for the losers, I did say that it did kind of seem like, I mean, I guess 68 points. That was Hughes and Elias Pettersson both got to 68 points after signing. I think they signed deals last year. So not the greatest kind of outing into a kind of a new contract from both those players, who I would think should score more. I don't know if just a lot of production didn't come before the Boudreau change. You know what I mean? Like what they were scoring before, he kind of jumped in versus afterwards. But I guess I don't think I watched a lot of Canucks games enough to tell you that Pettersson was a two-way player. Just looking more for him on the stat sheet. But if he is developing a little bit, that is a big win for that organization too. And Quinn Hughes, he's 22, $7.8 million, 5 years left on that deal. So as long as he's not flopping, I think that's kind of a plus there. It's weird that those guys they brought over from Arizona kind of sucked, eh? Like the Garlands and the Ekman-Larsons didn't really turn the needle. It's almost like they were like broken goods or something like that, right?
Garland started off hot, and then he just couldn't. I think he scored 10 goals in the first 6 weeks of the season, and then I don't know how many he had after that. But yeah, OEL, not somebody who, I don't know if his reputation preceded him a little bit, or maybe he was just a shining star on Arizona and he didn't have the same platform in Vancouver. But I agree 100% with him, because he is not somebody who I looked to or looked at and I was like, man. And you can't even fault the Canucks, because they gave up nothing to get him.
Yeah, they made that crappy Louis Eriksson deal that they hated for ever since they signed it. But basically, they ended up with a defenseman who's 30, who makes over $7 million a season, who doesn't provide that level of play, right?
Yeah, and that's what. I don't want to judge him based on this year alone. I think we could still see big things from Oliver Ekman-Larsson, but it wasn't a $7.5 million season. I will concede that.
Yeah. Well, and I think defensemen are tough too, right? Because they almost have to be $4 to $5 million guys if you're going to play the physical, tough game. That's kind of what they pay defensemen for. And above that, especially above 7, you should be putting up top points on your team or something like that. You should be providing intangibles that you almost don't see on a stat sheet at that price range. So that's definitely a big red flag going forward. So they moved Louis Eriksson for an Oliver. There you go. Kind of exciting.
So was Pettersson and OEL, those were your losers?
Yeah.
I think Bruce Boudreau is the loser, and I thought maybe he was the winner, but then I started thinking ahead a little bit. Bruce Boudreau now has to coach the Vancouver Canucks until they decide that they don't want him anymore. We've seen from Vancouver that they're not that good. In fact, we adoringly call their fans apologists because it is the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Bruce Boudreau, his 7 whatever winning percentage, I don't care. Maybe that makes him a winner in your books, but to me it makes him a loser, because now he has no way of escaping the clutches of Vancouver, and he's really gonna get an eye-opening experience with a full season, because I don't think we've ever seen a full season of good Canucks hockey, at least not since Roberto Luongo and the Sedins.
Yeah, no, that's fair. They definitely have been struggling a little bit, so I think that's coming back down to earth. That sucks for Mr. Boudreau. Oh, poor guy. And they hold on to those guys for a while too. I know when Travis Green was let go, I looked into it, and he's the second most winning coach in Canucks history or something like that, because he was there for a decade or something like that.
And what they did, in the 2021 season, when they were shit, basically from start to finish, they said, well, we still like Travis. We're going to let him ride out the season. what a mistake that turned out to be. And then you start the next season off shit, and then you let him go anyways. If anything, we should be praising the Montreal Canadiens as winners for the Vancouver Canucks segment, because at least they cut ties with their coach way ahead of Vancouver, giving themselves more of a runway. But
yeah, let's see. So just kind of what I could see based on this, doesn't really sort that well. Vigneault has 313 wins. Mark Crawford preceded him, had 246. Then you have to jump up into the 91 to 94 Pat Quinn era. And then we get 133 from Travis Green from 2017 to 2021. So, maybe Desjardins had a couple too. But then we're not, just kind of crappy.
Bruce Boudreau's probably already like 10 wins behind Travis Green.
Yeah, 32. He's got four more wins next year, and he'll pass John Tortorella, who was the head coach for a whole season. So.
Wow. You know, the way the coaching carousel works in the NHL, I completely forgot John Tortorella coached in Vancouver.
I just remember that one night, wasn't there some weird like locker room brawl between the Canucks and the Flames? Tortorella led it or something like that? No.
It was, he sent out basically his goon line with like 5 seconds left. Or no, it was at the start of the game.
Yeah.
There was something at the end of the game, and then it carried over to the start of the next game. I remember. Yeah. All
right. There you go, Vancouver. That was a fun segment. But apparently, your coach is both a winner and a loser, which is the most Vancouver Canucks coach you could ask for. So, good job.
Bingo.
Bingo, bingo. We're not going to go by standings on that one. We're actually going to jump up to fourth and talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, because we're going to go order that they were eliminated in the postseason, following our drift. Leafs. That's what we're talking about. Brant, who is your winner for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
I struggled with this one, but I'm going to give credit where credit is due, and that is Austin Matthews is the winner. And the reason for that is he lived up to the hype. He exceeded expectations. He's going to win the Hart Trophy. He's everything that the Maple Leafs needed him to be. And despite his, off-season shenanigans, or, his personality of a turd rotting in the sun, he showed that he's a good hockey player. And as much as I hate his typical NHL interviews where there's no emotion, nothing exciting about the guy except his sweet mustache, he was the winner for the Toronto Maple Leafs this year.
Picking up two. So essentially it's one of those ones, if you get the most goals, you get it. There's no weird voting system. We don't have to watch an award show. We just know. I pulled out the list here. Again, the award's only been around since 1998. But Pavel Bure is a two-time winner. Jerome McGinley is on that list twice. I believe Sidney Crosby has it twice. It looks like Stamkos also is a two-time award winner. So Austin Matthews can now be in the same conversation as Bure, McGinley, Stamkos, and Sidney Crosby, at least from goal-scoring excellence. And he only has to win the award 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more times, and he'll be tied with Alexander Ovechkin. So.
Well, if that doesn't speak volumes to the state of the NHL, then I don't know what does. Goal scoring's been at a bit of premium, but yeah, Ovi does it a little better than most these days.
This is my favorite segment of all time, because not only do we talk about Austin Matthews, but then we also get to talk about Ovechkin in the same breath. That's great.
Do you want to show the internet your half chub?
Yeah, for myself, I was actually going to include that too, and I just wanted to bring up that when I was thinking about winners potentially for the Maple Leafs. I just kind of wanted to throw that into the ring, that I think winning it twice is done very seldomly. Outside of, basically it's just been Ovechkin's award since 2007, so hopefully he continues. Let's put it that way. If he won the award next year, Ovi that is, that would be great. Myself, for winners for this club, I think going into this off season, this is maybe the most confident that I felt with the big four. So the Tavares, the Nylanders, the Marners, and the Matthews. that we have in a while, right? They all kind of stepped up. They all showed that they can succeed or have some type of success in the postseason. To go into Game 7 against the Tampa Bay Lightning, they looked good, right? It was kind of other little intangibles, maybe goaltending that were issues that definitely caused them to stumble. But the fact that I think we'll see a lot less, we need to trade somebody, right? Like Mitch Marner, going into this offseason, I think there's not a lot of rhetoric around him. John Tavares has shown that he kind of can still perform on the big stage. So the fact that I don't have to listen to trade John Tavares and William Nylander slander all summer, I'm going to count that as a winner.
That's good. That's a good angle to take. I like that. I didn't think about the trade talk being a big victory or a big part of the winning component, but you're absolutely right. Do you want to lead off with losers? Is there somebody who stood out as a loser to you?
I mean, I realized they didn't go to the first round. I don't think this team had a loser this year. They were all excellent. So, if anything, it's probably hockey fans in general, and just what you have to listen to. Because now this summer, we do not get trade John Tavares for X or trade William Nylander to acquire Y. We're now in the trade TJ Brody, trade Jake Muzzin, trade Justin Hall rumor part of the season, and that makes for some pretty crappy mock trades. So I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry, everyone, that the big guys showed up, and it looks like they're sticking around for a little while, and we have to try and trade Jake Muzzin somehow for the next coming of Ed Belfour. I don't know where that's coming from, but that's the deal you're getting. So,
ooh, that's a nice segue. But I'm going to give you an option. I have two losers.
Okay.
Do you want the sarcastic one or the more sarcastic one?
I get both.
Oh, you're going to get both, but which one do you want first?
Oh, we got to end with the more sarcastic one. I want a rim shot kind of move on to the next team. So.
All right. So, the loser, not the biggest loser, the smaller loser, was whoever's standing in the blue paint for the Toronto Maple Leafs. God bless Soup's heart. He tries his best and he does okay, but he's not an NHL caliber goaltender. Peter Mrazek, somehow you are the Dominic Ducharme of NHL goalies, so enjoy riding the pine in the AHL because that's going to be the easiest $9 million you ever make.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest loser are the parade planners because the Toronto Maple Leafs hype train left the station at full speed. And this was the year where it's going to be Toronto Maple Leafs. They were going to make a run for it. They had finally exercised their playoff demons. And the parade route was set. The candies were bought. The parade marshal was named. And here we are at the end of the first round yet again with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Instead of parading through the streets, they're being shamed through the streets. So a lot of hard work went into planning the route, planning the parade, and I think those hard-working souls, they were the losers this year.
There was a video going around, or some photo of some guy at the Jays game in Detroit yesterday, and it's just this fucking guy with his Maple Leafs face paint on, Leafs jersey, and his helmet on, just fucking throwing back a beer. I think that guy might have actually been running the committee to plan the parade, and he's had a bit of a rough couple weeks. He got really depressed. He fell into the gutter somewhere. He resurfaced in Detroit just recently. So that guy might be the loser of the Toronto Maple Leafs season. Cause
do you know who that makes the winner then? Is the border patrol officer who had to let him across the border to watch that game. And this guy have to explain, I promise it's just face paint, and I just want to go watch the Blue Jays play in Detroit.
I've been living on the streets for the last 3 weeks. It's fine. I don't have a passport, but I promise I'll behave.
I've got $6. That should give me 5 beers. So let me in. Detroit's bankrupt. They need the money. Yeah. They can't turn anybody away.
Yeah, that's what he's like. He's like, well, we have to because we're bankrupt. So it's too bad. There you go. Yeah, poor little tyranny. Oh well. On the plus side, we get to hear all the rhetoric about how amazing Nazem Kadri is, and what a cheerful, chipper guy that guy is, and Leafs shouldn't have let him go. What a terrible trade.
I saw a shady tweet. I love shady tweets, but it was basically throwing shade at the Maple Leafs. This is a tangent, then we'll move on. Like, oh, it was always the role players. It was always the role players who held the Leafs back. And then it was the Western Conference Final promo. Which player will make the bigger impact, Nazem Kadri or Zach Hyman? It's like, if that's not throwing it right in Toronto's face, I don't know what is.
It's hard. When you love someone so much, you want to rip them down. And that's what I assume everyone does with the Toronto Maple Leafs, is they just love them so much. That's why there's all the shade thrown. No one cares about these other... No one cares about Vancouver.
No, nobody does care about Vancouver.
No one cares. Vancouver or Calgary Flames. So we did talk about them last week and got to say ha 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 ha, losers. So let's start with a winner, something positive. What is a winner for Calgary Flames this season?
You know what? My anecdote works best if we do loser first.
Okay, all right. We can start with losers. Yeah, they're most recently known for losing. Let's start with losers.
So, the biggest loser is Johnny Gaudreau. And you might think, wow, he finished third in league scoring and all this other stuff. But you basically heard him say, fuck you, Calgary, on his way out the door in his exits presser. This was the second time that we've seen like monumental things from Johnny Gaudreau. It was also his second contract year. And he's going to be rewarded handsomely because of it. And I think that's kind of a dick thing to do, to only turn things on in your contract year, to say, yeah, now is the time I want to get paid. And he's going to get the tens of millions of dollars that he deserves, and good for Johnny Gaudreau, but he's still a loser in my book.
All right, so we're going to do losers first. I might mention Gaudreau later. I think the front office, this squad... I don't know where their identity lies, if we're being perfectly honest with you. I did not have them pegged very high at the start of the year. And I happened to go at Cap Friendly this morning, and there's a lot of free agents remaining on this squad. I don't know exactly what cap space they have for next season. I don't know if I can actually find that or something. They have currently 2 goalies, 4 D-men, and 6 forwards under contract for next year. Obviously, they have some cap space going forward. So what does that look like? 26 plus 15, 31 plus their goalies. Archer only makes $6 million a season. Is that right? 30. So they have like
they're projected for $27 million.
They're projected for $27 million in cap space right now. And like I mentioned, there are just some holes. No one's super noteworthy, but I don't know if there's also a giant free agency class that's coming this way that's going to make them make splashes. And when you have that many holes to fill, I don't know if you can just go on a spending spree, right, on the big guys. You kind of have to take care of all the little set pieces, right? And if that's the case, I don't know. We're going to see. Matthew Tkachuk looks like he is a restricted free agent this summer, so he's going to need a new deal. He just got 104 points this season. He's going to be looking for, in theory, a lot of money. In theory, like he's not taking $6 million. He's not taking $7 million. He's got over 100 points this season. If you look at the guys who's up with, what's that worth? $10 million.
To me, I guess the comparable is Leon Draisaitl. And they're not identical players, but Leon makes, I think, is 8.5 million. I don't think Tkachuk signs for anything less than that.
Well, that's what I mean. But like in my mind, he's similar to like kind of more like a power forward, like a Mark Stone at 9.5. That's probably the minimum you're signing him for. Do you really want Matthew Tkachuk on your team for the future for $9.4 million? How do you build a team around that?
I'll say that you don't. And maybe that's a nice segue to who I think are the winners, and that is the city of Calgary. Because you're not stuck with Johnny Gaudreau paying him $12 million a year to get $60 million in 60 points in production. I think that they're going to have some more money to throw at Tkachuk because I don't think that they're going to make an effort to sign Gaudreau. I don't think he's going to be worth the money that he thinks he's going to command. And maybe that kind of makes Matthew Tkachuk also a winner because he is going to reap the benefits of the Flames having a little bit more money to throw around. I don't know who the free agent class is, but I don't recall hearing anybody noteworthy.
No.
And 24 years old, coming off 100 plus point season. This is a guy. Maybe he's not a franchise, like he's not the centerpiece on offense, but you get him with another Goudreau-esque player, like somebody maybe like a Matthew Shane, somebody who can feed him the puck. I don't know. I think that I don't think that Goudreau's the answer. I think Tkachuk is somebody who they want to invest in, and I think the team, the organization, the city will be better off not having Goudreau tied up for the next 6 to 8 years.
Over 100 points for both Goudreau and Tkachuk is maybe the worst thing that could have happened to this team this season. Because realistically, you want to keep it going. This management group really thinks these are the two guys to invest in, right? They're both in their 20s. They're kind of in that prime hockey. It's going to cost you at least $20 million to keep both those guys in house. So then you have $7 million to fill out the rest of your forward group, and you need at least 3 defensemen. So even at minimum 7, 4. Yeah, I actually don't think it could be done. I don't think, unfortunately, you can keep both of them. The numbers just don't work out. So, myself, I said Goudreau was going to be a winner. If you're going to leave in a contract year, you'll want to be at top 3 in scoring in the league because you get a lot of money. And that's pretty exciting. And you don't live in Calgary anymore, so there you go. Boom.
But we are getting Bixie bikes, so he's going to be missing out on that.
Okay.
You know those bikes you rent and you drive them, you drop them off at stations? I've never had a bad time on one of those bikes, and I was so excited to hear that we're going to get them. Johnny Gaudreau, that actually amplifies his loser status in my books because now he's going to miss out on that too. So,
Poor guy. What was I going to say? Something else? Nothing. Maybe I'll have like a summary after our next team and final team, the team that was just eliminated a couple days ago. We told you what happened last week. I said, I'm guaranteeing a Game 6. The Oilers are going to win a couple here. We're going to see a Game 6. It's supposed to be tonight. Maybe the schedule wouldn't have allowed for it. Maybe it would have been last night or something like that. I was pretty damn certain, and I was wrong. Poor me. Poor Edmonton Oilers. Grant, you doing okay?
I feel resolved in the sense that we saw this coming. And I think you know what? This is going to give a little too much away, but I'm going to say it anyways. The point that sealed it for me was I get Mike Smith got us here, not single-handedly, but he played his little heart out for a couple series. He did not have the Avs number, and they struggled because of it. They weren't all weak goals, but there was a few short side goals and underneath the pad goals. I was like, what the fuck? And I think that for me was when I saw that these things continued to happen, I was just like, you know what? It's not going to be this year. Mm-hmm. But the thing that really cinched it for me was your first defensive zone face-off in overtime in a must-win game, and you send fucking Brad Malone to take the face-off? Like, why? You have Connor, you have Draisaitl, you have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Hell, you have Derek Ryan, who's a good centerman. But Brad Malone, who didn't even crack the roster during the regular season, maybe he played 2 games, comes in for the playoffs when they're hurting it for injuries, they need a veteran, and you send him out, and lo and behold, chopping point, maybe a high stick, into the back of the net. Edmonton got what they deserved in that round. There was a few mistakes where leaving Smith in and Brad Malone taking the first face-off in our defensive zone in the first overtime. I almost knew when I saw Brad Malone taking the face-off, I was like, this isn't going to end well. And it didn't. It ended 3 seconds later. So, but you know what? I'm okay. Lots of winners this year. A few losers. But who's your winner?
So for myself, for this last week, I think I know I did give out the Oilers last week. At one point they were up last Saturday, and I live bet the Avalanche thinking I'm like, Avalanche can come back. They did it a couple times against St. Louis. So I won a little bit of money there, and then I believe I grabbed them. I think I had money on the Avs for the Oilers in Game 4, and then at 3-1, I put a bunch of money on the Avs to come back and win. So
mix the winner. Mix the winner is what you say.
I got them at 7-1 at down 3-1, and I was like, that's worth what, like a $5-10 wager right there. I was like, that'll recoup some of the losses. It did recoup the losses. So, yeah.
I was off by a game. I was like, we're going to overtime, and Leon Draisaitl's going to have 3 points. That was Game 3. It didn't happen. Game 4, it happened. It went to overtime, and Draisaitl had 4 game points. And stupid me, I was like, no, Game 4 is not going to overtime. Of course it did. But anyways.
Yeah. For myself, winners just for the whole season. You have to give it up. 25 and 26 years old, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I know they make up 25% of the cap of this team, but they are 2 of the greatest hockey players we've seen in a while, right? Maybe especially this generation, right? They are leading this squad, and that's kind of what you needed, right? Draisaitl had a high ankle sprain. He hasn't been walking well since they were playing the Kings, but he still got it out 2 more rounds. He's still playing super high competitive hockey, and you just have to give credit to these 2 guys, right? It's a blessing. Any franchise would love to have kind of 2 talented players like that. It's everything else around them that maybe doesn't look great right now, but the fact they were in the Western Conference Finals with this squad, right? Specifically, like, you can kind of look at it. I have Cap Friendly open right now, and as you go down the roster, you're like, you get a lot of yikes, and oof, that's not a very good looking deal. So, I don't know, I think I'm going to say kudos to those guys. Grant, who are your winners?
The obvious choice you touched on, and I don't think that there's really anybody else who's more deserving of it, but I'm going to go off the cuff here. I'm going to say Zach Kassian. That guy just plays with an enthusiasm that makes me want to kiss the man right on the lips. He's on the ice. He's an agitator. He finds ways to score. I know everybody's always $3 million. For what he brings to the table, I don't mind that he makes $3 million.
No, that sounds like a very fair trade or fair deal.
He was 20 goals with McDavid. Like I said, he mixes things up. He doesn't take any shit. He'll swing with the best of them. He'll score with the mediocres of them. I like Zach Kassian. I think he's a winner, and I've said this sarcastically in the past. I want a Zach Kassian jersey, but I want it to be authentic, the one that comes with blood and bourbon stains, because that's what I know. That's the Zach Kassian jersey that I want.
There are a lot of Grant guys. Like, as much as you want to say Mike Smith maybe isn't the best goalie, I kind of feel like his, like, truculence that he brings to the ice. You don't need really goalies with truculence, but, like, that's a Grant White kind of guy, so.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and that's what prevented me from listing him as the loser. I was like, even though he kind of cost the Oilers a series, he's not a loser in my book. You know who the loser in my book is at the end of this Oilers season?
You're the loser.
Well, you know what? I hope that's your take. But it's the Chicago Blackhawks. Because if Duncan Keith retires, they get saddled with his cap and his cap recapture penalty, which I think worked out to $8 million. So that means the Chicago Blackhawks are going to have to pay Duncan Keith, or for all intents and purposes, will count towards $8 million of the Chicago Blackhawks cap space next year if Duncan Keith retires. And honestly, nothing would make me happier. Frees up $5.5 million for the Oilers, and it really gives Chicago everything they deserve, and that's, stepping on their drowning heads.
Yeah, because then they can't go forward. And, like, there's that whole Minnesota Wild thing that might happen this summer where, like, that team may not be able to function next year. Like, they actually might just, the Wild might just be dead, so guys are going to be bargain shopping there. Another note before I get to my loser, this is a random football segment. There's a chance that Deshaun Watson gets suspended, maybe a lifetime suspension coming forward. I did the math. I found a NFL cap calculator, and do you know what the dead cap space? Let's say Deshaun Watson, we just signed this big 5-year deal with the Browns. If, let's say, he got cut, they're like, no, lifetime suspension, we're erasing you, you're never playing again. His dead cap number for this upcoming season will be $141 million. So the Cleveland Browns, what's the NFL salary cap? Like 170, 180? 141 of that is just going to be Deshaun Watson. And then in 2000, so then it goes down to $11 million. Oh no, sorry, so it's 217 million. So it leaves them with minus $141 million in cap space for this upcoming season.
I love where your head's at. I think they finagled the system on this one because most of his money came as a signing bonus, and his base salary is only like, I think, $3 million. So the signing bonus is just money that's gone. It's only the signing bonus that will count as dead cap. And whatever, I don't know what the calculation is, but I think it's just the $3 million. I don't know. I think I saw something about that.
I thought that too, and I haven't seen this story, but I thought I overheard something on a podcast where I was like, 141 million. I was like, that's great. Awesome. Where are we at? Duncan Keith, screw the Blackhawks.
So I'm the loser.
Oh, you're the loser. Fans. Leon, you're great. Connor, don't ever change. Everyone else on this roster is kind of questionable. And the fact that Ken Holland is now sitting there in his office being like, I did a good job this year. See this? I created this. This was all me. He should not be in charge, but he's going to continue because of the success. So it's kind of one of those things where you shoot yourself in the foot, right? I'm sorry that you have to continue to watch this roster be built this way. I don't know if there's like a flurry of youth, of a bunch of prospects that we just don't know about. They're going to be kind of brought into this lineup that are going to develop and flourish, and we're going to see this weird renaissance, this dynasty as if we're being built. I don't know. I just don't see it.
So we saw Dylan Holloway, and granted he played like 6 minutes, but Dylan Holloway made a postseason appearance. And he's part of the up-and-comers. I don't think that it's going to be an influx next year, and I think that really the biggest thing they need to address is goaltending. Mm-hmm. Thank God Koskinen's coming off the books, but Mike Smith is not a starting goaltender. He's 41 years old, and you get everything that you deserve with a 41-year-old goaltender. He looked great. He gave the puck away. He gave in soft goals, but he still had a few punches left in him, both literal and metaphorical. I think that he would be, and I don't think there's any plan to move on from him. I think his cap hit is $3 million for next season, but there's going to have to be a number one goalie coming in. I don't know what the plan is to get them. I don't know if they're giving up a prospect. I don't know if they're giving up an NHL caliber ready or an NHL ready player, like maybe somebody like a Cassian or someone of a similar ilk. Whatever the case is, goaltending needs to be addressed. And for some reason, Ken Holland has taken the Maple Leafs approach on this, and he's just been satisfied to say, no, I like 40-year-old goaltenders, or I'm satisfied with average goaltending. But both franchises have paid the price for it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do more. I meant to look into this a little bit more, but just looking at, say, the Avalanche, who have had a pretty good squad for the last little while, but really are kind of missing that goaltending piece. Right, you look at maybe like the Jordan Binghamton when he won the cup. It's kind of want to call him a flash in the pan. Like probably an average goalie that had like an extraordinary series of games. Carey Price, a goalie who's at the end of that rope but had kind of that run to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. We saw it a little bit with Fleury, right, in his first season. Signing like 3 average goalies to really cheap deals and just kind of like being like, I don't know, we don't even know who's going to start. Like the Avalanche, there was a report they're not sure who's their starting goalie in the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't know. It's not terrible. Like if you don't have one of the top 5 guys in the league, right? Like you don't have a Vasilevsky, you don't have, say, Hellebuck, you don't have a Shesterkin. It's not a terrible strategy to just like throw random crap on the ice, see if somebody clicks at the right moment, right? So like having a 3-headed kind of a dragon, that's it. I mean, I pulled up the free agent numbers. I don't see anybody that's like jumping off the page as an upcoming free agent. So yeah, probably has to be a trade. I don't know what the Oilers have in terms of capital for trades. So
I don't know what they have. I don't know what they're willing to part with. And Zach Cassian's a name that you keep hearing the Oilers willing to move on from. I don't know if other teams see him in the same light that maybe there is a team that still values that type of player. But if you're giving up what I consider a skill position, you kind of want a skilled player in return, and I don't think Zach Kassian fills that mold. So maybe for like cap purposes, trading away $3.2 million for a $5 million goalie is something that has to be done. But if the Oilers wanted to empty the cupboards and just say we have Draisaitl, we have McDavid, we have Nugent Hopkins, we have these surrounding pieces like Hyman, oh man, who was the other guy that I was thinking of? Maybe it was Fogle. We have these like secondary scorers. Why not just say, you know what, we're okay giving up a first like Minnesota did for a goalie to make a run at it next year? Yeah. I think that's probably their best play, but I don't know, giving up a roster player, like a guy who is maybe average, above average, slightly above average NHL player. I don't know if that's the trade that they need to make themselves better.
Let's see. What is look at that. They could trade for Cam Talbot if the Minnesota Wild end up in salary cap hell.
Man, what a full circle moment that would be. I don't know if Cam Talbot is. He looked good when McDavid and Draisaitl were young. Then he pooped the bed while they started to look good, and they moved on. Yeah, maybe it is one of those get the gang back together moments.
I feel like Talbot might be a product of the defensive system they play in Minnesota, not so much on his own merits too. So I don't know. Their defenses are a little different. I think Minnesota and the Oilers, you would say, maybe have different defensive skill.
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. So there you go. That is it. That's the end of our show. We've got one hockey game tonight. Prediction. Grant, what's going to happen? I don't know if we're doing better advice. I didn't put anything together. Because I feel like there's no accountability at this point. Like, I can tell you anything. I was like, I got this 15-team parlay. It's 4,000 to 1. I don't fucking care. Like, I'm going to see you guys for months.
I'm glad we're wrapping up on this. Predictions, even though there's no accountability metric. I hate this, but I like it more than the alternative. I don't see how Tampa loses on home ice in Game 6. This is their best shot to close it out. And I think they are the only team that can get past the Colorado Avalanche because the Avs are just playing on another level right now. And there's something to be said about being there before. And I think the Bolts check that box. I would say Bolts win 2-1 in overtime tonight. And Game 7, Stamkos scores the game winner in the third period against the Avs. That's my prediction.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not calling anyone anything. I feel like bubble year, so the first Stanley Cup championship for the Lightning, yes, they deserved it, 100%. It was a very tough season, but it was a weird season, right? Like, we didn't see the superstar squad. They beat the Dallas Stars. I don't know, it seemed kind of goofy. Last year we had the division, so them playing the Montreal Canadiens probably wasn't the greatest challenge that's ever been in a Stanley Cup Finals, right? Like, maybe one of those teams shouldn't have been there. So playing against Colorado Avalanche, who we could argue is one of the best clubs in the team, best clubs in the league, kind of their first legitimate title of a threesome, right? Like, if they ended up getting one, I don't know if I can. I started liking the Rangers, and now the fact that it looks like the Rangers are done, I'm kind of like, I don't really care what happens. This might be a thing. Once we end this podcast, I might watch the game tonight, but I don't know if I'm watching a Stanley Cup final of Tampa Bay versus Colorado. I just don't care.
I don't care either. And the thing that just chaps my ass the most is that both those teams started at basically 1-2 in the futures. I'm not interested in seeing the two people who are expected to be there be there. Yeah. And I don't want either team to win. So, and that being said, if the Rangers do pull off the upset tonight and then somehow punch their ticket to the Stanley Cup Finals, the Avs are just going to railroad them. Shesterkin's been great, but this is going to be probably our first 4-game series. I like them too. I was hoping for them, but the anarchist in me who doesn't want the Avalanche to win needs the Lightning to move on.
Yeah, and I think at this point it's one of those things where I'm like, at least if the Lightning win, it's just, I don't know, like a foregone conclusion, and we just chalk up these last couple of years as the Tampa Bay were just better than everyone else, right? And kind of move forward with our lives versus like we have to like blow Nathan McKinnon all summer and talk about how great Devin Taves is and like I don't
See,
know if I want that.
I don't want that. You've read my mind completely, and that's exactly it. I am already resolved with Tampa being good and winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I do not want to process those emotions with the Colorado Avalanche, and it's because Nathan McKinnon is a cunt. He doesn't let his team eat dessert. He doesn't let his team eat pasta. He throws helmets, and he acts like he's better than everybody, but he is a cunt. I hate Nathan McKinnon.
All right, cool, awesome. There we go. So let's go east. Screw the Avs. Although, again, I do have some Joe Sakic cards, so seeing him get a cup again.
You always got the Uno reverse card.
And then NBA. I was watching NBA last night. It seems weird. Like, both these teams, both the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors, both have flaws, and it's cool because we've lived in a world for the last 15, 16 years where LeBron James was so imposing of a force that they had to literally create super teams around the league just to compete against LeBron James. Like, LeBron James could go toe-to-toe with Durant, Curry, and Klay Thompson and, like, single-handedly beat them. And he was just such an imposing force. And I think we've got to that point where LeBron James is now old and he isn't that immovable object anymore. And I think we're going to see some really weird basketball matchups going forward in the future, assuming some guy doesn't step up and go supernova like he has. And I'm kind of looking forward to that, too.
Even the West, the way the West gets whittled down every year, like the Doncic's and the Bookers, I don't know. It is anybody's guess. Even the Timberwolves. I don't know much about basketball, but the Timberwolves are a team that, if they get hot at the right time, maybe they're a team to keep an eye on.
And I like that. I like that little bit of chaotic energy. And like Grant was saying, two top of the favorite boards. We got Lightning, we got Avalanche. That's boring. I hate when 1 and 2 meet. I mean, in theory, it's a better matchup, but I like when there's that chaos. You know, when you get like the random wild card St. Louis Blues in the Stanley Cup Finals or something. I like the chaos that hockey brings, and I'm glad that we're seeing that in kind of others. You know, like we saw the Bengals in the Super Bowl this year. The Bengals are a Super Bowl winning team. Like, I like the chaos. I'm all for it.
I agree. I don't know why you said something that cued this, but you did. Did you know that this will be the first year since 1979 that the Stanley Cup Final doesn't feature a player who played with Jaromir Jagr? I heard that on the radio this week. Isn't that something?
That is weird, yeah. Yeah, what a weird, impactful man that was. Well, he was also in like some pretty good situations throughout his career, so...
And, like, the longevity is the one that struck me as, like, basically, like, and obviously we have to look retrospectively to say this is why, like, going back, he played with this person and he appeared in the Cup Final in 79. But still, that's something else, man. I was a little upset. And that was kind of like when it was the NBA Finals. And it was either LeBron James or Steph Curry, I think, in the NBA Finals for years. But... I think that's what it was that cued it. I can't remember that stat off the top of my head, though. But we're running over 60 minutes. We would not be the Canada Puck podcast without our babe of the week. I teased this last week, and this is Mick's brainchild, and we're running full force with it next week. This is just a taste of what people can expect for years to come. We are shifting our babe of the week to NHL Ice Cruise. And not Ice Cruise as a whole, but individuals, and it's not easy to find, but the individuals we could tease out of these posts to say, this is an Ice Crew babe. We're going down, naturally, when you think of beauties, you think Southern California. We are going to former, maybe she's current, 3-time NHL Ice Girl, Natasha Pinheiro. Her handle is Tash, Tash, Pinheiro, P-I-N EIRO. 3-time Ice Girl, fitness community, fitness pro. You can tell she likes basically all these sexy things. She is enough to get me to go down and watch an NHL game in California. Natasha Pinheiro, you are our babe of the week. Schwing.
I give Grant the call to arms. He delivers. Congratulations, good job, Natasha. She is a bit of a beauty. Well, there's like a lot of them too. Like Ice Crew's made up of, how many girls is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. All right.
And it's a gift that's going to keep on giving because, if we do this long enough, we're going to pull out different pictures, and maybe that's how we could just make our living. Maybe we just need to, maybe we could create like an Ice Girl app where you get to like, we can't really rate them. I feel like that's not something we could do in 2022, but interact with them. It's basically like an Ice Crew Pornhub, but like
Right.
something like that.
It's a very niche OnlyFans market. So.
Yeah, there you go. You get it.
Yeah, perfect. Done. There you go. Brainchild. Awesome. Well, Grant, pleasure. From, I don't know what we were doing in the fall. My brain's a little hazy on that. I don't even know if we did this in the fall. We had a Christmas party at one point. I re-listened to that podcast at some point. It's a weird show.
You know what? I'm gonna have a fireplace next year, and I've already got like irons in the fire for our Christmas episode. So nice. I'm excited. It's gonna be something we run with into next year.
All right, awesome. Yeah, that's good. Have fun gambling. We still suck at FanDuel. Maybe next year will be different. But no, good. I'm glad we finished one. I think it's our end of our 5th season. Is that right?
6th season.
6th season. All right. I don't really remember. I know that we had lots of audio difficulties, and the show's probably a little bit rough. Also, a lot of the old podcast doesn't exist because we just kind of like naturally deletes itself, which is kind of an advantage. So the last 2 seasons, though, going strong with YouTube contents.
We'll be back in the fall. We got lots more.
Podcasts have picked up. We have a little bit of homework to do in the off season. See if we do it or not, and go from there. So yeah.
Well, for the last time this season, party on, Mick.
Party on, Grant.
See everybody next year.